Erobert das Ziel dort.
Welcome back everybody for another Destiny 2 video, and I didn't expect to do something this early. I heard that the live stream was cancelled and they were going to post a blog post, but I didn't expect something like this. If you guys are wondering, I will put screen caps, and we'll even go through the Bungie podcast, which they haven't done one in 2 months, and it's with Mark Noseworthy, Luke Smith, and Eric Osborne. So we'll start off with the State of Destiny 2 blog post by the Destiny dev team on November 29th. We'll just cover what Luke Smith and Chris Beret say at the beginning. They say, "Hey everyone, with Destiny 2's console and PC launches behind us, we want to take some time to talk with you about Destiny 2, specifically where it's at today and where it's going. Our team has been reading feedback and working on updates to improve the game. We've also been reading some tough criticism about our lack of communication, and we agree we need to be more open." I don't know if they're just trying to cover their bases right now, but considering what happened with the recent EXP exposure that they had, showing that the XP shown on the actual XP gauge isn't what you were gaining, that they were actually downsizing or upsizing the amount of XP you gain depending on the activity. I don't know if this is what they're referencing when it comes to we agree we need to be more open. Are they saying that because they were caught red-handed essentially on this XP claim by a Reddit user? Does it mean that they're trying to cover their tracks and not allow anything to open up to the media, considering what's happened with EA in the last couple months? We don't know, but at least they're trying to be more open, I guess, even though this is very vague. Once again, I understand they can't release certain details about the game, but give us something. Anyways, they go on to say, going forward, Destiny 2's post-launch game systems, features, and updates are being designed specifically to focus on and support players who want Destiny to be their hobby, the game they return to, and a game where friendships are made. We want Destiny to be a game that fits into your life, providing you with reasons to log in and play with your friends, clans, and families. We want Destiny to be a world you want to be part of. I don't disagree with that. Destiny 1 was definitely something that I would have considered myself a hardcore player. I played it every day, every night with all my buddies. You know, we really created this family-like environment for one another. We were assholes to each other. We were, you know, somewhat soft, if you care to say. We had father-son relationships, just brotherly bonds that were created. And then it seems that ever since Destiny 2 was released, all of that fell apart. And it's something that, you know, I talked to one or two guys that are still around on Xbox, but everybody else has even stopped playing games in general because of what happened. And this worries me a lot, because it's not necessarily that I'm losing these friendships, it's that how many other people have lost these bonds? How many other people are going to suffer because Bungie decided to rush a game in a way, reduce its content to give more, well, not give more content, but to welcome more casuals instead of, you know, welcoming back the hardcore fan base, because those are the people that are going to give you the money. Those are the people that are going to stay around and give you those numbers of a high player base, a high amount of money, revenue, because they will buy those DLCs if the game is good. They go on to say, a month ago, we published a list of improvements on the blog. I actually covered that on the weekly update. Today, we're going to revisit that list and update its status, and share some of the work the team is readying for December, January, and beyond. We know it's frustrating when there isn't enough of a dialogue with the development team. You have our commitment that we're going to do a better job going forward. What is this commitment? My problem with this statement is they're just saying, we'll do it, but then they don't do it. Show us a follow-through. You gave us a list of improvements. It took you over a month to give us an update on when these updates might come, when these improvements might come. I was hoping that by, you know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, this week right here, we'd at least get heroic strikes and not have to wait until the DLC, or even after the DLC, depending on how it goes. But yeah, that was the statement by Luke Smith and Chris Beret, the two game directors. I totally hate fucking Luke Smith, but that's just my personal opinion. I don't find that, you know, he's very well spoken. He also likes to ignore anybody who tries to go against his thought. Let's keep going. They go on to say the upcoming updates overview. We previously published a list of upcoming Destiny 2 improvements we want to deliver. Some of these updates will be introduced on December 5th and December 12th. Others will land in the new year. If you guys haven't seen it, I do have a weekly update type video because they did release a lot of information and I covered it. But I will just move on past this because they do specify more dates down, and the biggest thing is the December update, which is what I'm going into right now. December update details. There are 4 key areas we're targeting for improvements in December. Some of these updates will arrive with the December 5 update, and some additional updates will be included in a patch that will be deployed the following week on December 12th. I don't see why they're spacing it. I guess it's just to see how the actual DLC gets received and how people like it, so they can spread out, and the next update will just patch anything that they need extra. I guess that's okay. I don't know. Quite frankly, and I'll say it now, it's too little too late. It's... oh, fuck Bungie, man. You waited almost 3 months to give us this. To give us improvements that we wanted from the first month. How do you let this happen? How do you let your game deteriorate and hemorrhage in player base, and then you go, now we'll fix the problems? There's an issue here. So they go on to say both updates combined include improvements set against the following goals: deepen rewards for advanced players, the hardcore base that wants proper rewards that we need, which if they do give good rewards and something that's actually worthwhile, I might come back to it, but I can't see myself playing this game anymore. Maybe for the DLC, I have said that I'll play it, let you guys know how it is. There's nothing too exciting other than that. Provide more player control over obtaining rewards. Don't really like that, just because I've seen what comes up, and I don't like what their decisions have been. Maybe if we had more options of activities to do to get rewards that'll level us up, then that would be fine, because the activities are fun, you get the rewards, it feels like a sense of accomplishment. But you'll see what they're planning to do with this more control for the player. They make shards useful by adding things to use them for. I don't know why the fuck this wasn't already in the game. D1 had this straight off the bat with Crucible marks and Vanguard marks, and then they changed into Legendary marks. Why didn't they have this from the get-go? And you'll see exactly. I'm just skimming through it, but I've already looked through it, and I'm fucking frustrated already. Provide general quality fixes wherever possible, and that's just, you know, basic updates, patches, server side or code. You know, that's fine, that's normal, you know. The following changes are the first steps towards achieving these goals. Well, congratulations, there's nothing else really. So they go on to talk about Masterworks, and I don't really see anything great about Masterworks, but let's read up on it. This will come in December 12th. Legendary weapons will drop as or be upgraded to become Masterworks versions. Masterworks will have a few advantages over the baseline Legendary weapon. Track and display the number of kills with that weapon, with choice between total count or Crucible only count. Okay. Generate orbs for you and your allies on multi-kills. That seems okay. That actually looks adequate. That's a good upgrade to your weapon, a good masterwork, I guess. Add weapon stat bonuses that are selected randomly from a small pool and are re-rollable. So what we originally had in Destiny 1 was very, very controlled. We could change, we could get another gun that had a different roll and choose between our favorite gun. And that was something that I actually missed in this game, because if somebody got the same gun as you, it was the same perks and everything. You couldn't look at their gun. For example, in Destiny 1, the AS Luna, if I looked at somebody's AS Luna and they had Third Eye and Luck in the Chamber, I might want that gun. And then I see somebody else with, you know, Luck in the Chamber and not rifled barrel, sorry, final round or some shit like that, where you get bonus damage on the last round, or a glass half full or something. Something that would intrigue me would be chasing weapons that had those, you know, god rolls, as we called it. Now it's just, you know, here's a limited pool of what you can choose. Go crazy. And there's not going to be much uniqueness to it, because they already dug themselves a hole by making each weapon specifically fitting one role. And I don't see them fixing this at all. Ugh. Going on, Masterworks drop from any source of legendary weapons for characters above 250. I guess that's good. It's a new unique way of adding another rarity. There's sort of legendary, then there's Masterworks legendary weapons, and then there's exotics, even though exotics seem like they're fucking commons nowadays. Unwanted masterwork can be dismantled into materials that can upgrade an existing legendary weapon into a masterwork. Raid and trials of the 9 weapons will have a very high chance to be masterworks. That's good. I don't say they should make it for sure that raid and trials of the 9 weapons have masterworks, but giving them a higher chance definitely better fits into the RNG system that we all like. We have future plans to extend masterworks to other gear and expose your kill counts in more places. I don't really care for the kill count. Yeah, it's cool to see how many kills you've gotten with a certain weapon, but I don't think that's a priority. For people who enjoy that, that's cool, but there's no real point in my opinion. Then for December 5th, which is coming with the DLC, we've got armor ornaments will be added to some existing armor sets for more visual customization without losing your shaders or mods. That's good. That's cool. I'm guessing it's going to be similar to what we had in Destiny 1. These ornaments will be unlocked by completing objectives specific to each set and are permanently unlocked account-wide, just like exotic weapon ornaments. They will be applied to the base pieces that you may already have collected and can now unlock on vendors if not. I don't really care for ornaments. It looks cool. That's it. In Season 2, the following sets of ornaments unlocked in their respective activities. And that's the Vanguard, Crucible, Trials of the 9, Banana, Dead Orbit, FWC, New Monarchy, and then the Raid Layer armor. And finally the big one, which I fucking don't know how they didn't already have this. They should have had this. You can finally buy shit with your fucking legendary shards. So it's coming in December 12th. I guess it's so they can balance the economy a little, allow people to gain shards and gain more shit so they could actually buy the armor when it comes out. But faction armor and weapons will be unlocked for purchase for legendary shards and faction tokens on most faction vendors. And by that you can assume it's going to be Shaxx, Zavala for the Vanguard, the 3... maybe, I hope so, like New Monarchy, FWC, and Dead Orbit, Banana, I'm sure, not Trials of the 9, I don't see that happening, and maybe the Raid, I doubt it, but it could be. All 5 armor slots will always be present and weapons will rotate weekly on factions that have them. Slots will be unlocked by claiming reward engrams from the respective faction. You will get credit for engrams you may have already claimed since launch. That's going to be good. So hopefully we do get that claim, because then that means that anybody who has dropped off the game in the last 2 months or month can also be, you know, compensated for any past engrams that they had. Then we got Xur, and fuck man, they really fucked up Xur now. Oh god. Well, one thing, we do see a new exotic in the picture they show, but I don't really care about that. I'm more worried about the faded engrams and 3 of coins coming back. They say that on December 12th, Xur has some new offerings for players collecting exotics. Every week you'll be able to acquire one of the new faded engrams using legendary shards that will decrypt as exotics that aren't already in your collection. A simpler 3 of coins that boosts exotic drop rates from any source for 4 hours. That 4-hour boost is cool, but at the same time, 3 of coins aren't necessary. I understand what a lot of people are arguing is that, oh, they're optional. You can actually buy them or not buy them, or use them or not use them. But the drop rate for exotics are already so high compared to even legendary engrams at times. Or just compared to Destiny 1, to get an exotic was like, holy shit. Like, I'm talking Destiny 1 Year 1. By Destiny 1 Rise of Iron, it was a lot more predominant, I guess. You'd see it a lot more often, but it wasn't as often as Destiny 2. So I don't see 3 of coins coming back being all that great. Now, if they said, you know, because of these stupid token systems, if they said it boosts the amount of tokens you would get, like gives you a higher chance of getting more tokens in a game, in a PvP game, or, you know, Strike, wouldn't be that bad. There's no obscure stacking mechanics or need to reapply before every boss, which is good. These cost legendary shards and you can have as many as you like. I guess that they're just trying to find ways to spend these legendary shards, but really, 3 of coins don't really need to come back. Now, heavy ammo synths, secondary energy weapon ammo synths, all that shit should come back. That would be a lot cooler to see and a lot better when you're running the raid. Like, the couple of times I ran the Leviathan raid and making it up to Callus, I've been fucked out of ammo, and it's cost us a lot when we were doing the raid. But we'll see. Hopefully, you know, it doesn't change it. On December 5th, we've got another update for Banshee on the weapon and armor mod front. For players wanting to clear some mod inventory space, you can now dismantle the rare quality mods into gunsmith materials, and you also have a chance of getting legendary quality mod component, which is good news. I've got a lot of spare mods. I haven't played the fucking game in like a month. I haven't even turned it on, but that's good for players who still play that game, and maybe for returning players who might come back with the DLC, although I recommend not buying it and letting me take the bullet. And if it's any good, I'll recommend it. If it's not any good, then I'll tell you stay the fuck away from it, just like in my don't buy this video. Oh god, this shit's all too late anyways. The game's already dead. Like, unless Curse of Osiris brings all this content and this actually brings back the player base, I don't see it lasting. The biggest thing they need is to be able to have this content last us release of Curse of Osiris until the release of the Rasputin DLC. But I don't see that happening. For the simple fact that the raid is... Leviathan raid isn't that fun. I don't know how the raid layer is going to be, but we can only assume, judging that it's on the Leviathan. Any lore fans or story fans may be disappointed with the Osiris story, as well as there is no lore behind the Leviathan, so nobody gives a shit about the Leviathan itself. Strikes, I don't see the heroic strikes doing much, and all these balances that they're doing to the economy will help for the players that still play the game, but anybody else who doesn't play the game, it won't help them at all. Anyways, for players chasing specific legendary mods, Banshee will offer a selection of specific legendary mods for direct purchase. We can see that in the picture they provided for us, luckily. You get 3 specific mods that you can choose from, and you can still get the typical buying mods through the legendary mod components. Next, another December 5th update. For players chasing a world legendary or looking for masterworks, Master Rahul will sell some of his rumored hoard of legendary engrams for legendary shards. Okay, I'm indifferent to that. He used to do that in Destiny 1, so we'll see how it goes. If it really fucks up the economy, it might be bad, but that's why I guess they're releasing it on December 5th. They want to see the imminent impact. Anyways, let's move on to these December 12th updates that they got. Commanders of Allah and Lord Shaxx will sell gift consumables for legendary shards that can be used during a strike or crucible match that will serve the following functions. Grant bonus rewards to everyone in that activity upon completion, friend or foe alike. Award anything from faction tokens to a round of exotics for everyone in the match. No. The faction tokens are cool. Round of exotics for everyone in the match? You're telling me if you play a PvP match, all 8 people will get an exotic. You're breaking the economy here. The whole point of having exotics in general, not just exotic engrams, but exotics in general, is to make them exotic. Maybe if they said, you know, legendaries or tokens, like the faction tokens, but instead for Vanguard or Crucible as well, that would be fine, I guess. But they're really asking for a total imbalance and making shit way too easy. Just this sentence alone has already, you know, proven to me that this game won't last. Like, if the last 2 months have said anything, then this is them shooting themselves in the foot. December 12th, exploit safeguards on chests and resource nodes are greatly relaxed, and players should encounter them less frequently. Even if they do, drop rates for tokens is only reduced to 30% instead of 0%, and Glimmer will be unaffected. We want to associate a visual indicator with this in a future update, but we weren't able to pull that off in this update, but we hear you. I'm not really aware of what's going on with the chests and resource nodes. I'll leave that up to you guys for interpretation. I'm not really all that caring about the chests or resources. I don't really farm. I don't play the game, but when I did play, I never farmed excessively. December 12th, once again, vendors will now beckon you to hand in your reputation tokens only when you're carrying enough to earn a reward engram. I guess that's okay. That's a little tweak that helps players know if they've got enough for a reward or not, because I used to waste my time sometimes going to the tower, turning them in, and not getting rewards. But that's alright. I've got no real problem with it. December 5th, changes affecting reputation tokens. Fucking Christ. I don't really want to rant in this video. I just want to point out the shit that they talk about and how all of this is pretty much what should have been on a release and how it's all late. But these reputation tokens shouldn't even be in the fucking... I'll say it straight up. Whoever decided to put this shit in the game should kill themselves. Honestly. But whatever. It's not me, it's them. So they say daily challenges will have reputation token rewards increased across the board. I guess that's good. Cage treasure chests still offer variable rewards, but now guarantee at minimum a payout of destination appropriate reputation tokens. I haven't done the cage treasure chests, although those were fun. Those were cool. I've done a handful. I guess people who still do those are gonna enjoy it. Strikes will drop a larger number of Vanguard reputation tokens, as if getting 5 to 7 wasn't already enough. Common quality destination resource tokens will have their drop rates increased to 100% and values per token increased as well, by 50% for common quality tokens and 250% for rare quality tokens. Alright. I'm not up to date with the whole token shit. I really couldn't give a shit. Like, if I play an activity and get tokens, I'll go turn them in, but I've actually held on to like 80 at a time because I just don't see a point in turning them in. Anyways, on the balance, reputation required per reward engram will increase for destination factions by 37%, gunsmith by 50%. I guess that's good considering they're increasing the drop rates. The Leviathan raid tokens will be redeemed at Benedict immediately upon obtaining a token instead of requiring a full clear before unlocking. Okay. Once again, it's just fucking token talk. But I guess for anybody who still plays the game, that's a big update. They go on to say, with the launch of Curse of Osiris and the beginning of Season 2, you can expect to see a full suite of patch notes that will document all of the changes outlined above, as well as additional gameplay and sandbox tuning. Changes that the team is making to improve Destiny 2. We'll also soon be providing preload and launch day details, as well as a roadmap for our Season 2 content, which includes the Dawning in mid-December. I guess it's good they're bringing back the Dawning. I don't like this whole shit of faction rallies, but the Dawning seems cool, as long as they don't fucking, do anything stupid. I hope Sparrow Racing comes back. That's the biggest one. They need horns. Horns need to come back for free. Give me all my old horns. So they go on to talk about the XP mechanic and what they did exactly. The biggest thing that I'm going to say about this, if you want to read it, I'll put it up on the screen. I'll leave it there. Is the fact that they doubled the amount of XP. They adjusted everything, but then they doubled it. Essentially saying, fuck you, anybody who still wants to get any. Instead of being, 80k XP, now you need 160k. Is my math right? Yeah, it's right. I still feel like I got that wrong. But 160,000 experience to get one Bright Engram? Man, you guys are really looking for money now. I know you don't have to buy Bright Engrams, but the whole, a big part of Destiny is cosmetics, and the only way to get the good shaders and the good ornaments and the cool ships and shit is all through Bright Engrams. So they're really trying to hope that people will buy this shit, considering that they just doubled the amount of XP. But that's all I have to say. I'll leave it up. I will add a link to the actual blog post if you guys want. I don't believe there's anything else on here. There is the future. I'll finish this off with what they say. Going forward, we plan to continue this dialogue as openly and frequently as possible. This will be an ongoing process, but one that we are committed to. This week, we'll be publishing a new episode of the Bungie podcast where we will sound off on the current state of Destiny 2, how we think about our communication challenges, and what it takes to update the game in the wild. You'll be able to listen on both Apple and Android devices. Thank you for playing, for being passionate about Destiny 2 experience, and for working with us as we look to continuously improve our game and studio communication. I'm going to cover the first 10 minutes of the Bungie podcast because they do hit certain things that I wanted to, that relate to this patch and this blog post, as well as certain things that I've addressed and that I've seen other people address. So we'll go right into that right now. If you guys do want to see this entire blog post in its entirety with all the beautiful, ugly pictures and the stupid, other little additions that they had, like the overview that I didn't go over, I'll leave it in the I'll leave it down below in the description if you guys want to check it out. Now let's get into the podcast. So for the podcast, I'm gonna just start it from the beginning. I'll listen to it. I'll put it in the video. And I'll just address certain things that they talk about. So in this podcast for November, it's been 2 months since their last podcast, which says a lot about either how busy they were or how much they didn't give a shit. But it's Mark Noseworthy, a project lead, Luke Smith, game director, Eric Osborne, he's some director of something. I couldn't catch what he said. He seemed to mumble it at first. But let's get into the podcast. It's under an hour, but I'm only going to cover the first 10 minutes. I will say that after the 10 minutes, they talk about how development goes and how people sometimes don't understand development, but they do say that the community, to an extent, is understanding and caring and will listen. You know, if you guys really want to listen to it, I'd recommend listening to it so you can hear how they express themselves. But I'm only going to cover the first 10 minutes because I've already have so much to say about the first 10 minutes. I didn't want to go through a full hour of a podcast. This video would end up being like 3 hours long, and it's already hitting the half-hour mark. So let's get right into it.
What day is it? It's Monday, November 27th. It's about 5:15 p.m. We are, it's Eric Osborne, marketing director at Bungie, Luke Smith, game director, Destiny franchise. What do you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a game director working on Destiny.
And Mark Noseworthy. Nobody knows what you do now. What do you do now?
I take out the trash.
Take out the trash.
Yeah, no. I'm a project lead on Destiny.
Project lead on Destiny, and so we have some
Luke's partner in crime for the last few years.
Yeah. So we had been running a series of podcasts that were focused on features and development of Destiny 2 as we sort of rolled up to September 6th. It's been a while since we recorded a podcast, partially because some folks have been out of the office, partially because we've been really busy. But we wanted to take the opportunity this week because we have a bunch of conversations rolling that we think merit us focusing on talking about with our community.
We want to get the band back together, we're gonna play the hits. Yep. We're gonna play the hits kind of one last time.
Yeah, and I think certainly this probably isn't the last time all three of us might appear on a podcast, but going forward, we want to bring in some other people who are responsible for other aspects of the game, people working on like the rewards and progression system, sandbox, Christopher Barrett.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
live perspective.
I think Barry is like a really notable absence because being a game director on Destiny 2 is totally a full-time job, and Barry is going to be overseeing the DLCs, the live events, like the seasonal content as the game director for Destiny 2.
So I'm going to stop it right here. Luke Smith just said that Chris Barrett has a lot on his plate. He is a game director, and that is a full-time job. I sure hope it's a full-time job, considering that he's working in a big development company and he's a game director. You would expect a position like that to be a full-time job. I don't know why he specifies it in such a way. He should have said it's a hard job to do, considering the amount of work and the amount of voices he has to hear and then conduct his team. If he would have explained it in that manner, it would have been better. But why the fuck is he just saying it's a full-time job? Yeah, being a construction worker is a full-time job too. And I'd actually say physically that's harder than sitting at a desk. But coordinating a team isn't easy either. So I don't see why he's saying it in such a way. It's like he's just saying anybody who isn't a game director at Bungie isn't working a full-time job. All our programmers, all our artists and everything aren't working full-time. I don't know. I find it's more of an insult to the actual people making the game than us. But I don't know. He just... I never liked them anyways. Let's keep going.
Yeah. Historically, we've sorted players into 3 buckets. I don't know that these are totally the right 3 buckets, but I think conversationally it's interesting. Our tourists is the first bucket, and we think those are players who maybe play the campaign, maybe finish it, maybe churn out. Collectors, we've historically called those players have like a mid-level engagement. They might play for 100 hours or play some amount of the end game, some amount of that content. And then hobbyists, and these are players for whom Destiny really represents sort of a lifestyle game. Yep. And I mean, when I say lifestyle game, I'm talking about the game that you can kind of return to, in some cases every day, in some cases every week. But it's a game that when you come back to it, you have a bunch of excuses or reasons to play it. And when I say excuses and reasons, I'm really talking about both of those things in like the exclusively positive light.
So Luke Smith, once again, rubbing me the wrong way. People are just going to comment down below and say that I have a problem with Luke Smith, just like people said I had a problem with fucking Deej. And I do have a problem with Deej. He's fucking terrible for hosting live streams, and you can manage the community, but at the same time, you just shut the fuck up. But Luke Smith says, over here at Bungie, we end up putting people in 3 different buckets, or 3 categories as I prefer. They call them the tourists, quote unquote, which everybody in the community calls them casuals, the filthy casuals who don't actually play this game full time. They buy the game, finish the campaign, as Luke Smith says, and might come back once a week. I wouldn't even say a casual player comes back once a week. They'll come back whenever there's some content. Then you got the collectors, which everybody already knows of. They try and collect everything they can, but they don't play the game to the extent that the hardcore player does. And then they have what they call the hobbyists, which we call the hardcore players, which I used to be a part of. Now I don't give a shit as much. I wish this game was as good as the first one, that it captivated me as much, but I've gone from hardcore to casual within a month of the game's release. And that says a lot about this game. And even Luke and Mark go on to say that, Luke is a 100% hardcore gamer of the Destiny, but Mark Noseworthy, who might have been a little more hardcore with Destiny 1, he, registered several hundred hours on the game over the 3 years. He isn't as hardcore. Like, yes, he has a family and everything, but he also says that, I've dropped off of it. But that's past that. It's more of, they really shot themselves in the foot with this one by saying there are strictly 3 categories that everybody already knows of, and the tourists, quote-unquote casuals, were the ones they were trying to let in more. And they actually say it in the blog post, and they say it later on in the actual podcast that they were trying to accommodate for more casual players, and that ultimately fucked them over, and they indirectly say that. But let's keep going. They do have a lot more to say, and I don't want to drag this on too long.
Like, if you have a game that you love, you really want, if you have a game that you love, you really want reasons to log in, and you want the game to give you those reasons because it's something you love doing. And I think where we're at today, to bring it all the way around, is Destiny 2 is a game that doesn't have enough excuses or reasons to play for those hobbyist players.
If there's a category of those 3 that are underserved right now, it is that sort of enthusiast player, the player that wants to play because that's where their friends are playing.
So once again, Luke goes on from the hobbyist and hardcore talk, and he goes on to say that the more hardcore players don't have as many reasons to play the game. And he's definitely right, and as game director, it must have pissed him off. I may not like the guy, but at least he said it straight up that, there is something missing. And it just bothers me that he doesn't just say, okay, let's halt the DLC, let's push it a little farther, and let's really try and get a hold of what could make this better. The DLC will just, breathe some life into it for maybe a week or 2, and then it's just gonna die again. And that's what's gonna be terrible about it. And that's what I'm predicting. And oh god fucking damn it, man. It's just, at least he knows that there's a problem, but it's how he's gonna go about to fix it as game director along with Chris Beret.
At Bungie, we have all 3 of these types of players.
Yep.
Right? Like in this room, I don't know which category you'd be in, but you're certainly the hobbyist, Luke. Like on the hobbyist scale, you're like 98th or 99th percentile for like time played in Destiny. Probably top 100 in the world if you include your like time played on like private builds here, right?
So here Mark Noseworthy comes in to say, we've got all kinds of players here at Bungie, hardcore, casual, the collectors. Then he goes and looks at Luke and says, you're possibly the top 100 in the world if we count all your private build times. I don't think you can actually talk about Luke Smith or any of the game directors or anybody that works at Bungie and consider them as the community. They enjoy their game. Yes, they're passionate about the game because it's their game. If you talk to anybody who makes a game, they're passionate about it, they play it. But it's not just their opinion, it's everybody else's opinion that counts, because those people are the ones buying the game. Those are the people playing the game. And here, I guess, they're just trying to say that, hey, he also plays the game a lot. He's in top 100 if you count his private build times. But just because he plays the game a lot and he's passionate about his game doesn't mean that he's able to, you know, say that he's part of the community. You know, if he is part of the community, he'd be able to look at the rest of us, the ones that are negative in the sense that I am, that I rant about the videos, and actually engage in a conversation with us, you know? There are those that are a little too passionate and get a little too aggressive. I come off as that, but in reality, I just want things to improve, and I understand it takes time to improve it, but the game came out broken. Why didn't you just, you know, fix it and then release it? If they would have said, hey, we don't feel like our game is ready to be released, let's wait a bit, improve it even more, give it the content it needs, and then release it, I think that if the community is as I think it is, we'd actually support them more. Because we can just see what happens when somebody pushes a game out. Destiny 2 was pushed out, and to, you know, partial fault to Bungie and partial fault to Activision, because they want the money. But just look at EA. EA pushed out Battlefront 2 even after all the controversy, and it bombed. It's got the lowest review on Metacritic. It's unbelievable. And I guess Bungie is seeing what happened with EA and DICE. And DICE, as great of a studio as they are, dev studio, they've fucked up. And it's not necessarily their fault. It's possibly EA alone. But anyway, it's just, as the creators of the game, you can't necessarily say that, yeah, just because I've got the 100 hours, like top 100 of in time played in the game, that, you know, my voice is more important. You know, it's even the people like me who got off the game after a month, those are the ones you want back, you know? But they're more, I don't know. I just find that comment is irrelevant. You know, they're just trying to pander and say that, hey, we're also gamers. But it's like, we understand that. You guys made the game. You have to be gamers, you know? Or you have to be at least interested in the lore or the story or the multiplayer or whatever. Something that would entice you to work at the company. Because if you don't care about the game anymore, I'm pretty sure you'd be fired. And if you're not fired, then there's clearly some problem at Bungie. Anyways, let's keep going with this podcast and see what else they say.
When you guys were thinking about you know, building the foundation for Destiny 2, I think it's fair to say we erred on the side of those casual experiences, because we were looking at it as like, this is an entry point for all players, right? This is a time to tell a new story, a great cinematic campaign, and revisit and rebuild new worlds and make big systemic changes. Yep. What we would classify, I think, as like break some bones, right? That we could reset or do some things differently. And obviously that was encouraged by quite a bit of the feedback we had around Destiny 1.
So here they start talking about the Destiny 2 being an entry point for casual players into the world of Destiny. And this is where I realized that they really missed their mark with Destiny 2. Instead of trying to make a sequel and not only introducing the world to new players, but also re-inviting old players and keeping them enticed, they literally focused only on the casuals. And that's the biggest problem. They were looking for the cash grab. At that point, they disregarded the lore, they disregarded what made Destiny 1 Destiny 1, and they simply said, here you go, here's a campaign. And they even go on to say
Destiny 1's core story, or Destiny 1's engagement model that people, you know, quite rightly at times kind of criticize for being a little bit too aggressive and demanding a little bit too much time for too little reward for players.
Yep.
And I think that's sort of where we find ourselves now is we over-indexed a little bit. We've got a bunch of players in the hobbyist camp, such as ourselves, who are looking for a little bit
for more to do,
more reasons to log in, more things to collect.
So they go on to say, and this goes back to what I was just talking about, they wanted to accommodate the casual player. Even though the hardcore player, yes, we complained that, you know, there wasn't enough story, but the engagement model was perfect, in my opinion. You know, the loot system, the leveling up, the grinding, the engagement of mystery and not knowing what you're getting really yourself into. We did need a story. We needed a campaign. That was very lacking in Destiny 1. But adding a story like TTK was, except, you know, making it bigger for Destiny 2, would have been a lot better. Don't take out the Grimoire. Don't take out the mystery. Don't take out the lore. Don't take out all the grinding and everything that made Destiny 1. All you had to do was take the Destiny 1 model from TTK, take out TTK as a story, and fill it in with another story. Fill it in with something unique, something that would add to the story. Instead, they took everything that was in Destiny 1, crumpled that up into a ball, threw it in the trash bin, and said, all right, what's next? Oh, we need casuals? Let's do it. And they just started from scratch. This game is a reboot. It isn't a sequel.
Like an example from my own life, Mark has heard me talk about how, you know, when the game came out on PC, I was like, I'm only gonna make one character. I'm gonna play the one character
to rule them all.
The one character casual experience. Yeah. Like I'm just gonna try to play in a way that's like totally compatible.
After having already done 3 characters.
After having already done 3 characters to 305 on console. I got the Titan leveled up, and then I started to look across the aisle and be like, oh man, but I really want to make my Warlock, and I really want to get a Hunter up and running. And so I've ended up like leveling all 3 characters. And what I've done now is I have all those characters approaching 300, so you can get an idea in about a month of play. Like a month of like pretty casual play. I'm close to the power cap, and on one hand that's like really positive. On one hand that's really good. It's totally compatible with life. But on the other hand, you could make a case that like maybe that's not okay. Maybe I shouldn't have access to the full suite of power. Maybe power's been over democratized in some ways. As you know, it's one of the only like game facing, like player facing pursuits in the game, and so maybe because of that, it should have been slower.
So here Luke Smith starts talking about how he made a Titan on the PC version and said he's going to take it casually. And then, you know, he was enticed, obviously, by being around all these PC players or just being a Destiny player in general. He was enticed to make a Warlock and then even a Hunter. And then he goes on to say, I've almost hit max level in 1 month. Isn't there a problem with that? In Destiny 1, for you to hit max level, which was 30 light, past the level 20, you needed to do Vault of Glass, and even then, it would take people up until the release of Dark Below to hit level 30. And that was the type of grind that people actually enjoyed. Some people complained that the story sucked because there was no story, but it still kept people going because people wanted to hit that level 30, wanted to get this mythical weapon called the Vex Mythal Class. But Luke Smith says, oh, that's good. It's a positive thing. It's, you know, it's not that bad that we hit the level cap in a month. Even though we want to release a new DLC and not do any updates for 3 months. Yeah, totally fucking great. He does sort of vaguely say that maybe you can make a case that it's too easy to level up. But this is just him trying to pander to the casuals and say, hey, don't worry, if you haven't hit max level, you still got time. You know, I'm a hardcore player. I did it in a month, so it might take you guys a little longer. Ugh, fuck, man. He just... I understand he's passionate about his own game, but at the same time, you got to realize where the fuck the mistakes were and sort of address those and say, hey, it was too easy to level up. I just realized that by playing on PC for a month, and I leveled up all 3 characters almost max level. And I'm sorry, we'll try to adjust that for Curse of Osiris. They definitely do need to, because they're only adding 30 power levels and 5 regular levels, you know? Ugh. Anyways, let's keep going. I'm almost done here. I don't want to keep you guys waiting much longer. We're going to skip ahead to 9 minutes and see what's going on there.
We can look at the types of players that are playing the game and build things. Just like we can focus on building systems for them. I'm not just gonna promise a bunch of content, because I know what we have in the pipe for DLC 1. It's got a campaign, and you know the next DLC will too. And so we want to get to the place where we're aligning our systems and content. And but for content in the short run, and I think in the medium and long term with the Destiny franchise in general, we have to be looking at systems that lead to, you know, hobbyist play for all players.
So now Luke is trying to validate why he's not promising people more content. He goes on to say that I know what's in the pipeline for the DLC content for Curse of Osiris and DLC 2. My problem with that is he validates that by then saying DLC 1's going to have a campaign, DLC 2 has a campaign, but what else is it adding, really? It's adding small campaigns of 6, 7 missions, 2 of them are strikes, in the case of Curse of Osiris, and there's not even a raid associated with it, you know? It's... fuck, man. It's as if he's saying, we don't need more content to keep you guys captivated. You just need a story, and then that's it. You know, everything else, just fuck it. We don't need to give you updates. I don't know, it's just the way I'm interpreting it. I'm also fucking sick and tired of listening to this guy talk. It's only 10 minutes into the podcast, and I was like falling asleep when I listened to it the first time, but I got through the whole thing. The rest of it, they talk about different development shit and things that you guys might be interested. And then Mark actually addresses something. I'll play it right here for you guys.
I think like one of the reasons there's so much passion, I'll put it, on the internet right now about Destiny and this topic is because, like, if you think about that person who never played a game like this before and picked up Destiny 1, right, and made these friendships and suddenly was like, I'm making Destiny like one of my preferred pastimes. I'm going to play 15, 20, 30 hours a week, whatever it is, and met people playing the game. Maybe they met them in real life, but mostly still virtual, and they're playing, and then they roll into Destiny 2 and have a great time for a month, and then they start kind of running out of some stuff to do, and they don't have as many bars to fill. There's not as many things to chase, potentially, and they don't have those same reasons to log in. They're like, but now I'm losing these friendships, right? Like I'm losing the connections I had with these people. I used to play 3 nights a week. Now we just fire it up Tuesday and maybe on Friday, and I'm missing that social connection. So I think some of that angst and concern comes from actually a really human place, and not just this like, you know, naked desire to just play video games, but like the desire to have connection. Right?
Yeah, and I think that's at the heart of what we want Destiny to be, right? Like when we look at it from a like top line, like
a place where friendships
pillars.
Are made.
Yeah, it's a place where friendships are made. It's a world you visit. It feels like a place that I'm going where I'm going to meet people and we're gonna accomplish fun stuff together.
I gotta respect Mark for what he says here, and he's hit the nail on the head. Mark states that there are less reasons to log into D2, causing not only the game to fail, but even some friendships that were built through the game. And that's definitely true. I know people that I don't even talk to anymore. I don't even see online on Xbox anymore, because Destiny 2 has fallen so flat. Yeah, Destiny 1 lost a lot of its steam after Destiny 2's beta came out, but Destiny 1 still kept all those people coming back. We'd arrange a raid once or twice a week. We'd try and see like what we could do for the weekend, see if we could play trials or not. Now it's the first month of the game was out, and after that, people aren't even on anymore. When I log in to play some Battlefield or, you know, just record some gameplay, there's nobody on. And I have to like text people and say, hey, you guys gonna get on? And everybody's like, nah, there's nothing to do. So those friendships are falling apart. Those bonds are breaking. And I gotta give it to Mark. He really hit it on the head. But that's where I'm going to leave you guys. If you guys want to listen to the rest of the podcast, definitely go ahead. I'd recommend it. But in conclusion, this is too little too late. Bungie, your game has failed dramatically. And it's up to you guys to find your stride again. Look at Destiny 1. See what made it good. And hell, if you have to, cancel anything that goes beyond this year. Spend the next 2 years on a hiatus saying we're not going to release anything. Tell Activision to go fuck themselves. Hell, even if you have to go to court to get the fucking contract broken or annulled, do it. Because if you come back and you make an amazing game, bring us back to Destiny 1, but add the good elements of Destiny 2, which are, you know, a cinematic campaign that doesn't butcher the lore, but a cinematic campaign that is accurate and that's good, that people will enjoy, that also has the mystery and lore and story behind it, and all the functionalities that made Destiny 1 Taken King time great. Do it. I don't think the community would actually be in revolt. Yes, Destiny would lose a lot of its steam, but then you could create a good marketing campaign to promote the game. But that's really just where I stand with it. I find that Bungie, they need to grow a pair. They should have never partnered with Activision. As much as they needed the money, they could have spent more time if they had to develop the game and make it as good as they could. But we'll see. We'll really see. I'd say everybody just grab a bag of popcorn, sit on the couch, and see the events unfold of Bungie imploding, because that's what's going to happen. I don't see Destiny 3 in 3 years when it comes out being all that great. If anything, they'll be lucky if they sell 1 million units. But that's just my opinion. Destiny 2, too little too late, Bungo. That's it for me, guys. Let me know what you think. This was a very long video, and I hope you support it and leave your comments and your opinions down in the comment section. I'll leave a link to the podcast as well as the blog post in the description with my Twitter and anything else that you guys might want to follow. Subscribe if you haven't, but I really appreciate all the hour, almost hour that you guys have spent here, even though I'm going to try and edit this down to maybe like 30-40 minutes. But just thanks for listening, and I hope you guys did enjoy.